Hello, everyone. Nice to see you all again. Good to see a few old faces, glib medley. You seem to think I'm in the business of arranging moony marriages. Not at all, not at all. I'm really talking about archetypes. Thank you, Richard Murdoch, for noting the unsolicited advice that I received last night on Week in Review with Doooovid. I'm not quite sure what you are referring to. You may be referring to the my platforming various people who want to come onto my streams and have a nice chat, or maybe not so nice chat with each other. Is this what you mean, Richard? Hello, OV. No, it's not actually about Jews. It's about macrocosms and microcosms. So I should really look up the word. It was a word I first became familiar with when I was doing economics. And you may know, if you know anything about economics at all, that there is such a thing called macroeconomics and microeconomics. And microeconomics is about how to run a household, how to run a house. These are sort of small ideas about, basic maybe I'm not explaining it right. Okay, I'm going to read. I'm going to find microeconomics, so you get a better idea. But basically, macroeconomics is sort of running the national economy, and microeconomics is about charting the performance of a firm or something. Sort of, single factors and individual decisions and what the kind of effect that they would have on the particular individual or economic entity that you are considering. So, and then of course, it is sort of like individuals are microcosms of nations, you could perhaps say, or nations are microcosms of individuals. And this is the line I wish to pursue. And of course, being merely one woman, I can only interact with individuals and not organisations, particularly as they are bent on ignoring me. So I'm going to deal with what Richard Murdoch has said about the unsolicited advice I got. Of course, I'm not going to follow it because I already know that the way Dr. Renee was talking was in a disapproving way, and she used the word patriarchy in a very disapproving way, in the same way that those who want to undermine marriage would call domestic violence patriarchy, as if it were somehow unique in a patriarchy that such things as domestic violence occurred. So, in the very small circle in which I move in, I can only get in touch with individuals, and in particular individuals who are prepared to engage with me. And what I like to do, and it is an idea that I suppose I could have come to independently, whether or not I had met Jen or not. But she does talk about archetypes a lot, and it's a very useful idea in that I find a few of you are in some ways archetypes of certain things, representations perhaps of social problems that I see, or the wider nature of sin, and its effects on individuals. So this is something I obviously wish to pursue. I'm not saying that I'm in any way perfect. It's just that there are so few of me that you can't really say, oh, Claire's like this, that person that we know, because I am, in fact, quite aware of my uniqueness. You don't have that many non-whites living in the West who want to save you, do you? You don't know of any other non-white female who says the things I do. So in a way I am unique, which is not to say that a unique person cannot be an archetype, because if you examine the idea of an archetype, okay, this is what I understand it means. You are the perfect representation of a particular thing. So various people I know could be, a representation of being a liberal Jew, for example, or being an Orthodox Jew, or being, that kind of thing. And you could actually turn Christ himself into an archetype, because he would, of course, be the archetype of a divine prophet who achieves a kind of summit, because, well, no one else has quite achieved this, co-equal divine status with the supreme and eternal Abrahamic God. So, so even unique characters can be stated to be an archetype. What am I an archetype of? I suppose I shouldn't beat around the bush anymore. I do realise that my ideas are radical and revolutionary. And I guess that makes me a revolutionary, and I unashamedly do commend a one-party theocracy to you, and you really can't get further than a one-party theocracy to represent the antithesis of the matriarchy, of liberal democracy, of sexual liberation, bent on finding more avenues of sexual liberation to be the opium of the people. I well know that Marx said religion is the opium of the people, and he meant, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the people wouldn't revolt because of the ingrained ideas of religion. And I'm saying that currently the people won't revolt because of their ingrained worship for half a century now of sex and shopping, as well as drugs and rock and roll. So what we lead in the West is a consciously hedonistic lifestyle that is atheist and indifferent to the long-term national interest of the West. In fact, it is heedless, and if you try to talk about it, you will be met with blank incomprehension. Look, I'm really so tired of people just waiting for me to finish. So yeah, I know this is always the case. So actually, I'm not on this occasion going to let anyone on, because I want the stream to be nice and short, and I do have a point to make, and I haven't even started on my subject before Ovi says, send me the link, I want to come on. Can you shut up please, because I want to say my thing. Now, if you were to say anything in the chat that suggests that you have anything related to what I'm trying to say, then I might let you on. But I know that you're just waiting for me to finish so you can come on and say your thing. So actually, I've got a title to this, and if you have been listening carefully, I haven't even started on it. And I keep saying it's not really about Jews. So, on the chosen status of the Jews, in passing, I would just say that, obviously feeling that they have been chosen makes them behave in a different way than if they weren't chosen. It makes them more self-conscious, I hope, and perhaps more prepared to fill the boots that they have been given. It may make them do that, or it may make them run away from their responsibilities. And my entire thesis is that they haven't been fulfilling their obligations to the Gentile. They don't seem to understand what it is that they are here to do if they believe in the narrative of being chosen. So, my thesis is that Jews have been chosen to perform a service to Gentiles, and they haven't been doing that at all. What is a service that they're supposed to perform? It is to remind us of the no-hide laws, and they haven't been doing that at all, because if they had been doing this, the West wouldn't be in the parlor state that it is now in a state of satanic rebellion from the laws of God. Now, on to the subject of whom I have chosen. Some of you have correctly guessed. Amanda has correctly guessed. That Church of Entropy represents an archetype to me. Who is the chosen man? That the chosen man is, my other streaming buddy, and he is, of course, Jay Walker. Now, lately I have found him to be a little trying, simply because he is stubbornly refusing to understand a few basic concepts that I regard as important. So, while on occasion he might praise me to the heavens, he's not actually prepared to do a very simple thing, which is to understand an idea that I've been going on about for quite a while now, possibly a month. But it is something that he deliberately chooses to shut his eyes and ears to. Now, I've been trying to excuse him, because he's not what you would consider educated. he barely completed his education, and he, I think he didn't do very well. This is in complete contrast to Church of Entropy, who we all know is a graduate in maths and physics. So you could not think of a greater contrast between the two of them. And therefore it was a great surprise and shock to me that I discovered that Church of Entropy didn't know the difference between a valid and a sound argument either. This I discovered over the weekend. I'm still reeling from the shock of it all. So what have I been doing this morning? I have been actually going through the debate that she and I had a few weeks ago, possibly 2 weeks ago, or more, on the subject of whether God is personal or impersonal. And what I've done is basically transcribe her proposition and my proposition and analyse them sentence by sentence to discover if either of our propositions contained a sound argument at all. And I really was trying to be as fair to her as I could, and I'm afraid I couldn't find. I think I just found one valid argument and it wasn't sound, but I went through my own and discovered 3 sound arguments, and therefore I invite you all to mark it with me, to go through it with me, and obviously, tell me if you don't agree with my assessment of what I thought were the 3 sound reasons in my proposition that God is a personal God. So, doubtless those of you who wish to do me down, who want me to crash and burn, will be poring over my proposition in eager glee, hoping to catch me out. This is what I hope anyway. And of course those of you who don't like Jen will also be falling over yourselves to look at her proposition sentence by sentence in order to find a valid or sound argument. This I truly hope you will do, because, as you know, these ideas are important to me. They are important in helping me make my point, because my point is that nobody cares about truth, logic and morality. Nobody will be swayed by truth or reason or morality, and I suppose you don't, because you felt you've gotten away with it so far. You can ignore all the rules because when you have, nothing bad has happened. And this, I guess, you will continue to do until you hit rock bottom. So, even though those of you who know that all my arguments are sound, you're kind of saying, yeah, but you can't make us. You're only one woman whom not an awful lot of people have heard about. And all the people who have heard about you, well, most don't, and most hate your idea. And so you're not going to succeed, and if we don't like your idea, we're not going to help you. And so people like Jay will be always saying to me, yeah, but no, but yeah, but no, and he will on the one hand, throw rocks at secular Quranism and then say I might have a point, and throw rocks at secular Quranism and say it's rubbish and I'm mad, and throw rocks at secular Quranism and say I may have a point and that he likes that he would have sex with Muslim women, and but he couldn't possibly be friends with Muslim men because he can't. I don't know. He'll just be throwing out yes and maybes like a flirtatious woman. So that's his idea, to keep me interested. And in the meantime, he will just continue to waste my time and say, yeah, but no, but yeah, but no, and keep me hanging on forever. And he doesn't have to make up his mind. And, and even his revolving door attitude towards me is useful, I suppose, for people who enjoy, listening to his bullshit. Because his point is really that there's no need to know the difference between valid and sound arguments, because in reality, nobody cares. I get away with my bullshit because there are people who just agree with me, and they don't care about the arguments. So if I say I don't like Muslims in my country, there'll be loads of people who will already agree with me, and therefore I will win when I say fuck secular Quranism. It's a shit idea. Nobody likes it. Why don't you fuck off back to where you came from before me and my friends send you packing? That sort of thing. So, and then he'll say, but it's so brave of you to keep doing this, and you're so wonderful, but just fuck off with your shit idea. And he'll be doing this and doing this until I guess he gets tired of it. So I don't expect to ever be able to pin him down, because that's the way he rolls. And, it's not just my idea that he does that to. It is to, all ideas, really. So on the one hand, he says Christianity is kaput, and then he'll say it's not, and then Christ is within him, and he's in the kingdom of heaven, and then he's not, and it's really impossible to pin him down, and I have to accept my own limitations. So why do you think I persist? Because really, I think he represents so many of you. That's why he's so certain that he always wins every argument. So by putting up a front and talking shit, he will delight you. He will obviously delight those of you who hate secular Quranism. And even those of you who can see that I may have a point or two would just delight in the way he bullshits so many people. Yet again and again he wants to stream with me, he wants to, bullshit me and other people and show his command of the art of bullshit. And my way of dealing with this is to disengage from him and say, well, if you really want to talk about it, you can talk about it to, other people. I noticed the last time he got rather cross with me and called me all sorts of names. He already had a prior arrangement between that he'd made with Church of Entropy to debate Halsey on feminism. But the moment he said that I was, what was it, a low cunt, that I prostituted myself, and etc., etc. He wasn't interested anymore in debating with Halsey on feminism. So my plan really is to invite him to have rematches with John Vance, who is a secular Quranist and hasn't so far resiled from that position. So I think really this would be, the litmus test of his commitment to politics. I believe that he's just fixated on me and he doesn't really care what kind of interaction he has with me as long as he gets to have it. So he can be, texting me his nonsense and wasting my time and making jokes about me being his internet girlfriend just feel he has a right to insult me and mock me and waste my time because he's special. And I'm saying, yes, you are special, Jay. You are my chosen man, and I've chosen to make an example of you and to show how you represent my greatest obstacle to propagating the message of not even secular Quranism, but of truth, logic, and morality. So, I think what you're going to be doing now, if you can only debate with John, is to tell me to fuck off and go your own way. And I'm just waiting for you to do that because I know that you're not really interested in political activism. You like coming on here because you get the attention you desire as a narcissist. And I give it to you, and perhaps, too long and too foolishly, I have given it to you, and I think it is time for things to change. And, if you're going to help me with with the political activism, then further debates would have to be between you and John Vance. And if you walk away, then we will know precisely what kind of man you are and your exact commitment to principles, if you have any. So, as for Jen, she, as you know, and I've said many times before already, that she represents Western woman. A few people have said, oh, no, she's a bit of a crank. But I think, to all intents and purposes, she has many essential qualities that make up the archetype of Western woman. She is unaccountable, she is capricious, she claims to support important principles such as truth, logic and morality, but when it comes to the crunch, she doesn't. And this is the core of her deception. She draws us in and then betrays and disappoints us by refusing to go any further, saying she's scared, she's got death threats, she fears for her channel, she has a right to freedom of association. And what she does is she says these provocative things, and then when people want to respond to it, she tells them to fuck off. They can't even post on her channel, and when they get frustrated, she accuses them of harassment and threatens their channel. She implicitly threatened my channel. I'm basically saying my channel will always be threatened by those who wish me ill, and I have to affect a degree of indifference simply because, well, it would just be foolish to want to, listen to thousands of hours. It's like I would even, know where to begin. But I suppose my favourite ones would be the ones of her and me. There are lots of good ones for political purposes, but the ones of that I think display the most my interviewing skills at their best would be the ones between her and me. But those of you who've enjoyed it, maybe you might want to record a few of them, because I really don't know what could happen to me. There is no need for me to even venture into hate speech territory, unless you want to say, "Ooh, I used a certain word and that means I'm guilty of hate speech." Very gratifyingly, one of the videos between me and Jen, the one about our relationship with God that we didn't get round to discussing, has been reinstated. So it is in fact possible to get justice from YouTube. So I hope people will be bolder, but obviously if you have things, streams that you that have particular sentimental value, you should protect yourself, I suppose. I just feel I've wasted so much time. I'm not going to spend hours recording stuff, and I like to think that I can easily repeat it again at will. So I'll just have to, travel light, so to speak. So what do Jay and Jen? My goodness, they sound like such a couple already, don't they? What do they represent apart from their confusion and ignorance of the rules of what is valid compared to what is sound? Well, I think they both suffer from the sin of pride, of a refusal to be corrected, of the stubborn insistence that their ignorance is better than others' knowledge. And not surprisingly, you will know that neither of them will read the Quran, because they think they already know. They already know how much, I'm not going to say hate, how much they hate Islam. So they're not going to, and they don't want to change their mind. So, why on earth would they read a book, a difficult book at that, in order to change their minds that they don't want to change? Why indeed? If I were to decide not to change my mind, then all these arguments would be completely sound, if my intention were to not change my mind. So, but if I were to say that I would not change my mind, whatever the reason, then I would be forfeiting my my principles as somebody who will only be moved by truth, logic and morality. So at least I can see the inherent contradiction I would be in if I were to say that I won't do something because I have already made up my mind not to change my mind. So I can't possibly do that, because I pride myself on being an intellectual who will always be moved by truth, logic and morality. So, it's obvious that Jay and Jen are not moved by truth, logic and morality. They are moved by the desire not to change their mind in order to, I suppose, persist in their deadly sin of pride, of anger, of sloth, of I can't think of any other deadly sin, but you know where I'm going with this. So I'm going to close down this stream, because I think I've made all my points. I do wish the focus to be made on their behaviour and their future behaviour towards me. I rather think that Jay is going to say, well, fuck it and fuck off, I'm off. So that's my prediction. Jen, I think, will be saying yes and no. And we will be having some sort of interaction because we both have a symbiotic relationship in terms of our common interest in streaming and increasing our influence, and we see each other as necessary to the other's influence. Right? We kind of climb on each other really, and that's fine. So I think Jen and I will be having some sort of interaction, and you may wish to have a look at what was said on Week in Review with Doooovid yesterday. Yes, I was on it, and we were discussing the Doooovid's idea of this trade in beta males that Doooovid was being so satirical about. Are my followers beta males? Well, yes and no, in the sense that my position is that all men in our matriarchy are beta males, because all men are lower in status than the unmarried mother. So, and that also makes Trump a beta male, because he's not going to criticise these irresponsible women who badly parent their offspring and cause standards of education and behaviour to fall, and cause the increase in crime that we're all so afraid of, and cause the female voter to become increasingly irresponsible and unaccountable, and cause so much anger and confusion in the men of their race. So this is what I'm saying is happening. But one thing I do want to say before I go is that I don't think this angst in the West felt by a Western man is really about race, even though he thinks it is. This is because to those who are less thoughtful, they would be only swayed by visual cues, and they will be looking at they will be looking at how the demographics of their country has changed and that sort of thing. But in reality, the problem is their loss of status. And this is what is really upsetting them. And this is my entire thesis. And I'm going to say it's not really racial, because if it were really racial, Church of Entropy would get more. She would get more subscribers than me already by now, considering how much I have been publicising her and her ideas. So I think there is and this gives me hope and faith in humanity, because I think a lot of men appreciate the protection that they feel they get from following a set of rules, because they sense, whether they see things as I do or not, that it gives them a middle path, a safe middle path through which life and life's dilemmas can be negotiated. And I think they instinctively sense that if they stray off the path, they'll go too far right or too far left. And they sense that my ideas would give them more security, because I'm actually referring to something outside myself. I'm referring to a higher authority. I'm referring to a holy book not written by me, while Jen is referring to some obscure oral tradition that only she is privy to. So I think however much you hate Islam, however much you hate Muslims, you see a glimmer of hope in a system of rules that you can understand, enforce, and obey. And this is what the West used to do. There was a time when people followed the rules. And what you want is really a return to that time when the rules were clear and the consequences of following or breaking them were clear. And when you know what happens if you break or obey them, life will become more predictable and you will take more risks as a result of that predictability. Currently, you don't even know that the laws that you are supposed to have will be enforced. And you don't know that even if you go to court, you will get justice. And that is why you are all paralysed by indecision. That is why you have become the women you complain about. And this is, of course, shameful. And that's why people are coming into your country to take your shit, I suppose. So, I am making a prediction of the likely behaviour of Jay, my chosen man. Just a moment. I do apologise. Where was I? So, I'm going to look in the chat because I have forgotten. So please, let me know where I was. I can't even find the thing. The page where all your chat was. So, let me find it first, and then when you remind me, I will. Predicting behaviour. Oh yeah, okay, I think I've got it now. So I was saying. What was my last word? Just say, somebody. Well, I guess that the people who are listening are not going to be helpful about my last sentence. But yeah, shameful, why people come and take your stuff, you're not going to change, you're just basically going to say, fuck you, Claire, we're not going to do what you want us to do because we don't have to and you can't make us. So, yeah, and So I'm just predicting that Jay is going to walk away because he can't debate with me anymore. If he wants a debate, I will refer him to John Bands, and he's not going to do that, I know. And as for Jen, I think there will be, further interactions because we're both getting something from each other. And, oh yes, the beta male thing. Well, you're all beta males, and you will not get any man disposed to risk anything on your behalves, because it's not worth it, is it? Not worth it. Because he won't get the support. He won't get the support from a bunch of degenerates who don't care about any principle, who can't stick to anything, who can't make up their minds, because all they care about is getting attention for themselves and nothing else matters. It's only the mood of the moment, and it will always be to avoid any admission of failure or error, and just sort of mulish, stubborn defiance. So this is what I predict. So I think that about sums up what I'm trying to say. Under 1 hour, and that's it. I'm not going to let anyone on because I'm actually about to eat something. So maybe another time. Maybe another time. I don't want another 5 hour, 6 hour stream. When I'm in the mood, I'll do it, but not now. And I don't want my food to get cold.